With that, I'm going to just one more time introduce Maddie Liggett, a fifth grade teacher at Cedar Elementary, and she's going to share with us today about her experiences and what she's doing in her classroom around career readiness.
So thank you for the introduction, Eric. As Eric said, I am a third-year teacher at Cedar Springs Public Schools. I've been in fifth grade all 3 years, and this is my second year doing career readiness in my classroom. So I wanted to give you a little background information on how I got started. My dad, Mike McCruel, works at Kent Career Tech Center. So I actually had the opportunity during undergrad to do some student teaching in his classroom. So I got to see firsthand him teaching his students about employability skills and just really take a look at how the workforce can be tied into education. I've also been working at the Kent Career Tech Center's summer camps. So those are geared more towards upper elementary and middle school students. So again, having the opportunity to work with kiddos closer to my age and see how we could instill some soft skills, employability skills into them, even with the short week we have. This slide is a quick highlight of some of the small things I'm doing in my classroom. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see my career readiness bulletin board. That's probably my favorite part of the classroom. Every single kiddo has their own picture up there. And in the picture, they're holding a sign that says their future career. And I keep it posted in my classroom all year long. And the goal is to change out the pictures near the end of the year, because as I'll talk about more, after some of the career readiness projects we do, a lot of them end up switching their career at the end of the school year. In the top right-hand corner is one example of how I'm integrating it into my curriculum. So during Unit 8, I teach decimals. And during that decimal unit, we spend a few days learning how to write checks. So it ties into our place value, standard form, and the kids are very engaged. I did this last year and I found checks all over my classroom for the next week. I finally stopped handing them out because I could never make enough for them. And they started writing their own checks on line paper for like 4 days. So again, very engaged, more apt to do their practice. And in the middle is my classroom career application. This is one of my favorite things that I do in the classroom. Rather than having typical classroom jobs like pencil sharpener, line leader, all of the classroom jobs are career focused. So I have a student who is in charge of making sure all the Kleenexes are full, that there's Lysol wipes out, and that person is our sanitation manager. I also have a few kids in charge of distributing the Chromes every day. They are my tech support people. So in addition to having a classroom job that's an actual job, I really try to highlight the importance of applying for this job and selling themselves. So in order to apply, they have to list a few skills that would make them the best candidate for the job. And it becomes competitive in a good way, because I don't have a job in my class for every single student, which is why they have to do a good job of telling me how they can be responsible and how their background and their skills would make them the best candidate. And I change classroom jobs about once a month, just to give them a while to complete the application. Then some of them, it takes them a few days to do that. One final thing is a career zone exploration. Michigan has their career clusters, but for the younger grades and the elementary grades, Michigan breaks them down into career zones. So rather than hitting every single cluster, I'm zooming in on the zones. So with the career exploration, it's discovery learning. So they go around the classroom and they have resources at the stations where they could explore the career zone, figure out some possible careers in that zone. And by the end, they're choosing a career zone and a particular job that they're interested in researching more about. And that actually leads right into one of the bigger projects I do during the school year, which is a fifth grade informational reading and writing unit. The way I tie in our content standards is I have my students write a research paper on a career of their choice. So when I'm going to go back to the career zone exploration. So this was a way that I was getting them set up. That way, when they come into the project, they already have somewhat of an idea of what they want to research. In addition, I kick off the project with a questionnaire I found on educationplanner.org. It's really difficult to find a career cruising website that's appropriate for 10-year-olds, but this one really hit the nail on the head. The students loved answering the questions about themselves. Some of them took this quiz like 3 times in one class period. And then within their answers and what career it picks for the student, it actually brings them to websites that have resources about that career. So literally is aligning with exactly what I want them to do. Read about the careers and then write about the careers. I don't know if you're familiar with 5th grade content standards, but one of the content standards in 5th grade is writing informational text using text structures. And so I focused the research project based on those text structures. So for every text structure, they're writing something about something different for that career, a particular focus. Unfortunately, I had just gotten past writing the notes when quarantine and COVID hit last year, so I never got to finish this out. But my intention was to do a sort of career fair, sort of like a wax museum that I'm sure you've seen before. So at the end, students would dress up as their career, have note cards, invite parents in the building so they could bounce around to different students and see all of the different careers out there. So I'm hoping to be able to do that this year. That's the plan, but that's where I'm headed in a few weeks. As far as the student and parent impact, my parents really appreciate how career readiness can be integrated into the content. I always tell my parents it's not something extra that's taken away from the Common Core standards that we're teaching. Rather, I integrate it into my responsive classroom morning meeting or integrate it into writing, just like I showed you. So I know that's something my parents really like. And I chose the picture on the left because literally that describes how my kids have felt about career readiness. So many of them have told me that, Mrs. Liggett, I've never ever done something like this. I've never actually sat down and researched my careers. Or my little friend who said, it made me consider jobs I've never considered. That's often what I hear the most. They're like, oh, maybe I'm not fit for this job. Maybe there's another job that's out there for me. So lots of engagement. They were excited when I told them today's a career readiness day. We're integrating our content into this conversation. The value of career readiness is probably the biggest buy-in that you'll need to do to teach career readiness. I'm finding that if you don't value it, it makes it really hard to integrate and it becomes an extra thing to do in your classroom. But I find the value in it is that when you're teaching students an employability skill like responsibility, we can take so many different avenues. I can teach about responsibility and what that will look like in the home, what that will look like in the school, and what it will look like in the workforce. So the conversation becomes applicable to so many different environments where it's always feeling relevant. Also, as I mentioned, just exposing students to the different career opportunities. I feel like a lot of times we're really pushing for college. And the reality is that not all of our students are going to college. So I really want to hone in on that and give my students experiences and show them different career paths that they might take if they're not going to college. And that's one of the reasons why I try to do a lot with my dad at KCTC, because KCTC has those programs to get their students right into the workforce. And finally, the way I've done career readiness is we've done a lot of reflecting on our own responsibility. So rather than just talk about it, we sat down once a week and we would rate ourselves. How responsible were we this week? And I'll show you a resource later, but we actually have an entire rubric. So it's very, very clear of the expectations for what it looks like to be a responsible fifth grader. Community partnership was probably my all-time favorite thing I've done with career readiness. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see the West Michigan Employability Skills Network. Eric is a part of that, and I've been very fortunate to be able to pilot this career readiness within the Kent ISDs and other local ISDs. And part of the piloting program is actually bringing our kids to a business so they can see what it looks like firsthand to be responsible at work. So I chose to bring my kids to Harvey Lexus of Grand Rapids. I visited there with students one other time during automotive summer camp. So I felt really comfortable that this was going to be a place where they could really see their responsibility. So what we did is we built background knowledge of what the kinds of things that they would see, the kind of things that Harvey Lexus does. And the kids all had to prepare interview questions for the people giving us the tour. So we were doing lots of writing, and we were also preparing questions that specifically asked, what does it look like to be responsible at this part of Harvey Lexus? Or if I'm not responsible in this part of my job, what are some of the consequences? So we took it both ways. The best part was the students giving those interview questions on the industry tour. As you can see in the picture, they each have a booklet. So they literally walked around like this with their pencil and were like, excuse me, but can you answer this question? They're so cute. They're so funny. But they took it so seriously. They did a great job. And they got to go into the shop. Lexus gave them safety goggles. Lexus gave them lanyards. I mean, they were there and they were getting VIP treatment. And again, when we came back, we were able to reflect on the types of responsibilities we saw at Lexus and how Lexus can compare to a lot of other jobs. So it's not just at Lexus, if you forget to do something, then there's a negative consequence. At other jobs, if you fall short on your responsibility, there are going to be consequences. So we could start to compare and contrast, it's not just here. This is how it is in a lot of parts of life, which is why we need that soft skill to be responsible. Kind of the big elephant in the room is how in the world is this going to look during COVID-19? First, I'm just going to say it's going to look very different. So I tried to come up with some ways that would be very easy to integrate on top of all the things that we have to do already. My first idea is if you are going to start career readiness, house all your materials in one spot in your learning management system. My school and district is using Canvas. So this is a screenshot of my homepage on Canvas, and you can see that I have a career readiness button. So when I'm doing career readiness activities or I want them to go to a specific website, they have it, it's right here, they know exactly where to go. Another idea of mine is that we have so many more students working online and on laptops that we can really take advantage of tying into the content standards by giving them tasks to research or evaluate articles online. We have the opportunity and the access to look into different jobs or even do the virtual and hands-on virtual simulations. So that kind of connects with, unfortunately, we can't have businesses come to us and we can't go to businesses, but we could do a community partnership using Zoom. So I feel like the online is just another connection or another way we could reach out and hopefully still have some of the same authenticity. Also, I think with the online learning, I haven't done it yet. I am completely in the classroom, but if I were to go fully remote, I would make these soft skills like responsibility a huge part of my online learning expectation. Like responsibility isn't just an extra thing we're doing. No, we are going to be responsible in all parts of online learning, whether it's doing your work or even digital citizenship. So just making that a really big part of your learning expectations.
Maddie?
Yeah.
Can I jump in? And just for clarification, some of the things she keeps talking about responsibility, that was tied to that West Michigan Employability Skills Network program that she was part of. We are working at building employability skills in the classroom, but focusing, making sure that educators aren't worried about like having to, well, that's just all these new things I have to do, but really just trying to tie 1 or 2 per grade level. So because she's a 5th grade teacher, responsibility to fill in that 4, 5, 6 band. And so she said, okay, well, this is one skill I can focus on, but how great, because it ties back to content standards into your ESL, right? So.
Yeah, and we have the resource on here that will bring you to the West Michigan employability page. So that way you can look at what's the soft skill that's going to be appropriate for my grade level. And there's also rubrics on there as well. I was also starting to brainstorm, where should I begin if you are brand new to this, especially with all the extra responsibilities we have. And I'm thinking that let's beat our students to the question, why do I need to know this? Why is this important? Because I literally get asked that every single day. And I'm finding that being intentional with my learning targets and tying my learning target into an actual scenario or actual time that I would use this in real life makes the students more engaged. It makes them more willing to learn the work. For example, our learning target last week was multiplication. My students are like, why can't I use a calculator? Well, here's one time in real life you might need to use multiplication if you're a construction worker. I don't know, maybe your phone's at home and you don't have a calculator on you, but this is a time where you're going to need it. So really being intentional, not letting them ask you, why am I going to use this? You telling them up front. So that was in a nutshell of what I'm doing in the classroom. This link right here is the one that will have the rubrics on it in a sort of timeline for the different soft skills that would be taught at each grade level. I also have a link right here to my blog, and I've been posting all of these resources. So anything you saw in this slideshow I have, and there's also a few curriculum things that I've made too. But of course, if you still have questions, I have my email right here and you'll still be able to access this presentation as well. And you're always welcome to email me with questions.
You know, you mentioned what you did with regards to the classroom jobs. The idea that as an elementary teacher who gives out classroom jobs, why not have students apply for the jobs? They're already given out jobs, or you said I give jobs and then I actually give them names by like professional jobs. But if you're going to have students do jobs, why not have them do jobs that are meaningful, and why not have them apply for a job? It's just a great way to practice, right? Practice that skill set. There's a couple of others. So I see there's a K-3 counselor here. Lisa's and says she's a K-3 counselor. So I think that probably that's pretty valuable to her. There's several things that you have done, like having the kids just, what do you want to be? And then as I've talked to, whether it's middle school or elementary or high school teachers, if you have kids have to do a research paper, you're already meeting the standards, but why not have them research a career? And then now they're digging a little bit deeper into the things they're interested in. Now it's a gateway to allow you to do an interest inventory on what they're interested in. And now they can compare and contrast to, oh, well, you know, I thought I was interested in this, but now I'm interested in that. Or like you said, bringing in a partner. So there are a couple of things that I want to make sure, and I will say before you, we have a couple of times for some more questions, but I do also want to make sure that people fill out the survey, because that is how they're going to get sketches. But I did see a couple of questions here. One question was, how do you find your business or community partner? Is that part of the Employability Skills Network? Is that how you found your partner?
The Employability Skills Network will set you up with a business. When I did this with Eric, he was more than willing to make connections. My dad actually worked at Harvey Lexus prior to getting his teaching degree to work at the Skills Center, and we've been in touch with them forever. So I actually had a personal connection, but there are many businesses that want to work with you, and they want the students to have this experience. So I've found that businesses are pretty willing to open up their doors for you.
Yep. Excellent. Yeah. And we at the ISD, if you were looking and say, well, this is great, how do I build partnerships? That's what we do. So please reach out to us and say, Eric, I would love to do something to make my classroom content more relevant, but I don't know where to start. We actually have been revamping our website to provide all sorts of resources, but reach out to one of us and I'll put our email address up in just a minute, but reach out to us. That's what we're here to do and help you with. Another question that came in was, what was the name of that website you use for reading and writing that to tie your back to your curriculum?
Yes, educationplanner.org. If they're talking about the one that I use as like a career cruising, it's education.org. And it looks like somebody else in the chat posted another like career survey that they've been successful with.
Yeah, so Ginger Rower works with my STEM network, and she said there's a stemjobs.com, find what you love with a STEM type quiz.
Okay.
And so that's pretty cool. And so education, so thank you, Krista, for posting educationplanner.org. So there's a couple more things I want to do, and I want to be sensitive to time. We got about 5 more minutes. Are there any other questions that you have for Maddie? Because I have some if you don't, but I want to make sure you have it as an audience, have an opportunity to share them. While we're doing that, as people are maybe thinking of some questions to share, I want to mention a couple of things, and then I want to come back and circle back to a couple more questions. Want to make sure that I point out that this is our first Educator Spotlight series, and we intend on doing at least 4 this fall, hopefully more in the winter. And if you know somebody who says, you know, I'm not really comfortable in front of the screen, but I got some information I'm willing to share, I'm looking for people who want to share their stories, because I know there are some amazing things that teachers are doing in career readiness. They're sometimes like the solo artist in their building. And I can attest, because I've spoken with Maddie, I've spoken with her principal, and Maddie has kind of been like a one-person show in regards to that, just her excitement and engagement with this, and just her enthusiasm. Her principal is on board with what they're doing. She's even met with her curriculum director in the district saying, like, this is really cool, the things you're doing. How do we get more involved with that? So sometimes you just need a champion in your building. But we have on November 2nd, Austin Craig from Forest Hills Northern. So for those who are looking from a high school perspective, we have that. And we're going to shift back in November 23rd to another elementary teacher. We also have a couple programs coming up called Educators in Industry. Again, these are all going to be virtual, and you can find these on the PD Hub. And my colleague Jerry Verway is going to be doing some trainings with a partner from Zello to do some career cruising and Zello trainings. And we're resurrecting our career readiness network. So let's see. I saw. Oh, it says, have you gotten colleagues on board? So that's a great question. So as a result of your excitement and sharing this with some of your colleagues, have you gotten any other colleagues to say, I want to try that?
Yes, I had 3 or 4 colleagues must have been last spring, who were on board. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't know where they're at with it right now because of all the extra responsibilities that have been added to our plate. But yes, I do have colleagues who want to try it out, who have been asking questions and are excited about it, which has been really awesome.
Cool. So let me ask you this. You know, you mentioned a little bit about the students. What would you say was the most, I mean, because when it's all said and done, to me, I will always say it's relevance and engagement for students. So what would you say when you were doing career related things, how do you see a difference in engagement with the students because they're excited about something they're doing about a future career?
For them, they no longer looked at everything that we were doing as an assignment. Rather, they looked at it as an opportunity to figure out who they wanted to be and use it as an opportunity to explore what interested them. Because I would have students who would finish work early and they would come up and ask, Mrs. Liggett, can I research my career? That's what they did in their free time. They researched their career and took notes. So I think just not viewing something as just another thing Mrs. Liggett's making me doing, rather than, I mean, it's an opportunity for them. And I think they really held on to that, which is what helped the engagement.
Cool. Yeah. And so this is kind of a loaded question towards the end, but what about something you tried that maybe it didn't go so well the first time around, like, oh man, that kind of bombed, but maybe something like, okay, well, that's all right because it inspired me to do it differently the next time?
Looking back, the reflection on responsibility, I feel like I could have done a better job modeling that and showing them what I wanted their reflection to look like. And at the time, I don't think I really knew what I wanted their reflection to look like. So if I were to go back, I'd be a lot more intentional about our reflections and not just reflecting, but how can we set goals from there?
Cool, cool. Thanks for sharing that. So I want to mention a couple of things real quick before I let everybody go. First, I mentioned just a minute ago, if you're interested in sharing something awesome that you're doing with career readiness, or you know somebody in your building who is doing something amazing, and this is for classroom teachers, it's for counselors, it's even for administrators. If you're doing something building-wide, I'm looking for additional guests. We have to share what people are doing that's really cool, so that other people will be inspired to do it as well. So if you're interested, we have an Educator Spotlight guest interest form at bit.ly/spotlight guest. That's bit.ly/spotlight guest. Also wanted to mention that the resources that Maddie shared, I'm going to make sure we put on our website. We're recording this, so we're going to post it. And we will actually make this available for people who weren't able to attend live. So if you know of somebody who would be interested in catching this, but they couldn't attend today, we're actually going to post it back in the PD Hub. People can still sign up, still get sketches for it, but you'll also be able to have it available to yourself. We will put it on our website as well, and we'll share the resources that Maddie is sharing with you. Also wanted to make sure that we pointed out, if you're looking for sketches today, just because you signed up doesn't mean you got sketches. You have to fill out a survey. So the survey for sketches is bit.ly/ESS for Educator Spotlight Series -sketch. So bit.ly/ESS-sketch, SCECH. And you need the 6-digit code. So the 6-digit code, which I didn't mention at the beginning, meant to do that, is 475932. So 475932, because each different guest we have on is going to have a different unique code. That way I'll know which session you attended. But we're going to make sure we make these available via video, and we are going to make sure we post the resources that Maddie shared. Are there any final thoughts that you have, Maddie, like in terms of doing this, like what makes you excited about doing career readiness with your students?
Seeing the kids excited and hearing that this is something new and to them innovative, and being able to go out into the real world. I mean, that was just a field trip they've never had before. So, and the biggest thing for me is I feel like even with closing schools early last year, I can confidently say that my kids walked out my door being able to talk knowledgeably about what it looks like to be responsible, what it sounds like, and that they are going into 6th grade with a better idea of their responsibilities and how powerful that can be.
That's pretty cool. And that is something you shared with me several times that I saw. That's pretty cool. Want to make sure I forgot. I want to just go back. If you have questions for Maddie, here's her email address. It's madeline.liggett@csredhawks.org. She said she's happy to take any questions. If you have questions, follow up. That like, I didn't think about that earlier on. And once again, if you have questions for us, or you want to say, hey, Eric, how do I find a partner to do something in my classroom? Reach out to us at, you can reach me at my email address, erickkelleher@kenisd.org, or you can check out our resources on our website. We're going to be having a lot more coming out in the next coming weeks at careerreadiness.kenisd.org. Really appreciate your time today, Maddie. I think you are amazing. This is a teacher who is just now starting her 3rd year, but she was doing all this as a 2nd-year teacher, and she's really just kind of just getting her feet underneath her. But honestly, a lot of people in her building are looking to her as a leader and doing something new and innovative. So really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for participating with us, and look forward to the next session in the series, I guess.
Thank you.
All right, take care.